If you want to stop me, you're gonna have to fucking kill me!
So, I know I'm looking a little sexy right now, but I slept in my car.
Hot girl versus homeless man.
Yes, thank you so much. That would be great.
How's it going?
It's going great.
I used to do this stuff here. I didn't have a great idea. But I used to do and I hardly ever made it.
Really?
Yeah.
Any cash? Can I have some by any chance? I need a couple dollars. I need some makeup and I need some new shoes. Are you sure you don't have any cash on you? Anything is appreciated.
Women with children are increasingly becoming homeless in Queensland, Australia, where rising housing costs are forcing people out of their homes and into the streets. It told the story of a woman who said rents in her area had tripled, forcing her to consider moving into an RV to avoid living in a shady neighborhood with other homeless people. Even that was out of the question for her, because RVs get very expensive over time, she said. She then recounted how her marriage fell apart and she ended up relying on government support and her family to support her 2 sons. Prefabricated homes are one of the quick fixes the government has been considering, according to a report. They've also added a rent protection grant for people like this homeless woman with children, who can actually get up to $10,000 in a year to maintain their current rent or get another rent. The government says they are building as many buildings as possible, as quickly as possible. Last year, the state government committed to building 6,365 new social housing units by 2025. But research suggests that won't be enough to meet demand, leading to an increase in the number of single women with children living in concentrations of cars, motels and the like. I don't care that single women with kids face rising rent pain. In Australia, the housing bubble and other asset bubbles were fueled by the government lowering interest rates to make homes more affordable for buyers. This leads to higher real estate prices because most people don't buy real estate. Instead, they take out their largest mortgage and buy the largest house because they need to move or have been evicted from their current home and now need to find new housing at a higher market price. Poor older single women with children are the hardest hit. When home prices plummeted in response to rate hikes, they either move far away to find a new job, or keep their current job and look for alternative housing. The woman interviewed for this article rented a storage room to store her belongings, but soon, self-storage will become their primary residence because they can't afford anything else. As a result, people are increasingly having to move out of cities and live in rural areas closer to farms and small towns to survive. Today, people are moving from crowded cities to rural or remote areas, where they can afford better housing and live in more spacious homes. In the wake of the pandemic, and especially since remote work has become the norm, many people have returned to rural areas to live more peaceful lives with basic internet connections and electricity. And not just in Australia, there really isn't much room for rural housing expansion. It is also found in other countries, especially in the United States and Europe. People are moving to reduce their living expenses, such as utilities and transportation, and to protect themselves from a viral pandemic like COVID-19, which is likely to break out in crowded cities. Single rural women with children are now more accessible to men who have moved to rural areas for a quieter life. Here men have to be vigilant not to be manipulated into marrying these women as they get strong and push for marriage and adoption. Relationships, wherever they are about power and control. Women tend to use the idea of love to dominate men. Having children with these women allows them to exploit men's resources more openly and to their own advantage. Women are very mysterious when it comes to their resources. I have yet to meet a woman who is generous with what she earns or inherits yet expects men to work hard all their lives and only give money to those women. Men realize this now and don't give in to this manipulation like they used to. Men are tired of tests and games and are often so burned out that they don't know what women really want. But some men are far from it, which is why women still do it today. Blue pill men with weak willpower can easily be discovered by women and take advantage of their weaknesses. A woman who is truly powerful in bed will always be the weakness of a weak man. Men need to realize that their happy hour in the bedroom is not unconditional. The woman you are asked to date or marry does so only so that she can maintain your long-term resources to support her life and meet her material and social needs. She takes advantage of the social value that you're marrying someone to build a steady network of friends or potential future suitable mates, if things go wrong, and get money to allow her to have decent food, designer handbags, and vehicles. In addition, rural men may be physically strong, but their intelligence is not as good as that of urban men. This may be why country men kept falling in love and marrying and having children with country women at a young age, only to divorce them later when they discovered the woman's controlling side. City men who move to the country know better. That's why women choose such men in the first place, because they know that once they manipulate them, then they may be intellectually superior to these men, and then they can push them towards marriage and live a stable life with a man who makes money from it. Jobs living in towns pay much more than those working on farms. For such men, what begins as a simple move to a rural area for peace and tranquility turns into marriage, which quickly turns into adoption, and they must share resources with single rural women, children, and eventually divorce. Females are known to live and thrive in groups. Even when rural women who migrated to cities established relationships with men, they eventually tried to persuade them to return to the countryside so that women could be closer to their circles and women's communities. This makes it easier for women to manipulate and control their men. They are constantly being told what to do next when they are surrounded by a group of single women with children. They also get closer to their families, where they can wield influence in the area through their brothers and fathers. Villages and rural women are somewhat easier to understand. They don't have the intellectual inclinations of most urban women, so men are generally easier to talk to and get along with country women, but you can't take away their femininity. They may seem like a long-term commitment, but they use it to end up manipulating men, just like city women do even before marriage. This is also because rural girls are less educated than urban girls. Because of this, country girls are much simpler and easier to understand and get along with. Rural girls generally do not attend university for higher education. This is very common among urban girls. Furthermore, women in rural areas had neither satellite TV nor internet connectivity until a few decades ago. They had much less access to popular culture than they do today. This means they are less influenced by other women or by shows that teach women how to manipulate men according to their desires. In addition, religion is more prevalent in the countryside than in the cities, giving them all the more reason to settle down, marry and have children sooner. It is also very important that women can have a larger social circle after they get married. No single women, all married women. Married women won't hang out with single women because they're afraid they'll seduce their husbands. When single women see single women with kids, they get scared and push them not to have kids because they don't want to give up their lives and take on that responsibility. Things are a little different in town. For example, a single woman with kids will have a hard time connecting with other single women without kids because she doesn't have as much free time as they do. While these social norms are not as strict in the cities as they are in the countryside, married couples still hang out with single men and women, and vice versa. Single women fear being a single woman with children in the city because it destroys their social life, which is mostly the foundation upon which women build their self-esteem. Single women with children in rural areas are ostracized in their communities, so they move to big cities. That's just the dynamic that's been at play for the past decade. Gentlemen, I want you to understand this dynamic before getting into a relationship with a country girl. I want you to understand these factors when your wife pushes you to move from the city to her farm in the Midwest. As for Australia, there isn't much hope for single women with children, as they are the ones who voted for a government that is now raising house prices and will soon be unable to afford a comfortable apartment in cities like Melbourne. Thanks for watching. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.